her the only solution to get her out of the house and to keep her credit intact.
So this is your very first YouTube interview type thing.
Yes.
Super stoked to be here. I want to know a little bit about this specific property, and I'm here because I bought that property from you.
Yes, you did.
So there's so much to talk about there. Before we get started, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're up to, what you do as far as your investing model and things like that.
Okay, great. So my name's April Giuliano, and we've been investing in the Jacksonville, Florida area only for the last 4 years. We started out wholesaling and we built that up, so we do have a wholesaling business. And then about a year later, we started flipping, and then that became a big part of our business as well. We also own 12 properties, a mixture of Airbnbs and some long-term rentals. And so, yeah, we kind of have those 3 areas that we've been rocking and rolling, and we're just trying to build on that.
Amazing. I think the coolest thing about it, as far as us working together, you know, we're helping with media and we do things like that, but also learning from the things that you're doing as far as flipping and wholesaling, and me learning to do that kind of is what brought this deal to me, and just being ready to buy the deal even, and knowing that it was a deal and executing on that. Can you talk a little bit about the deal itself, like where the lead came from and all that type of stuff? Give us some background on the deal.
Yeah, so this is a house that came to me through a PPL lead, which is a pay per lead. So it's a website that you can sign up and you can bid on leads. So it's not PPC where it's pay per click. It's literally you're buying leads from another company. So that is one of our lead sources. We love it. We get 1 to 2 deals a month that way. So this actually came in through one of our PPL leads, and it was a couple. It was their first home that they bought, and they just couldn't do it. And so they were wanting to sell it for cash. It was a 3-1, and she has 4 kids and then another one on the way. So it was just not a good situation. So she had another house under contract, and she wanted to sell her house cash, but there wasn't any equity in it at all. And so I told her a little bit about creative finance, and she just really didn't understand it. And so we kind of pushed that to the side, and you know, I wanted to help her out. I didn't think I would be able to sell it, but I said, why don't I, get you under an options contract, which is a contract that allows me to market your property to other buyers. I'm not an agent. This would be an off-market property, not an on-market property. And let's see what we can do. So that's what we did. We got it under an options contract, and I went and I presented it to some of my local buyers, and it really just didn't pick up on anything. And so unfortunately, I had to go back to her and say, there's just not enough here. And if she would have gone with one of our buyers, she would have had to come to the closing table with money, and that wasn't gonna work. She needed at least $5,000 to be able to buy this new home. So it was disappointing to her. She didn't want to put it on the market. I suggested that. She had all the kids there, and she works full time as a nurse, and so she just really didn't have the time to clean it up and get it ready for a listing, and so she was kind of out of luck.
Yeah. So let's kind of unpack that a little bit. So if we rewind to when you find that lead, and you find somewhat like what we like to call the pain point, because everybody needs a solution when they have a pain point. And that's what you provided to her, but also more so the rapport that you built with her. When I listen to that story, I hear so much about like, I had to go back to her and talk to her about this. I went back to her to offer this. And being able to do that with a seller is all about building rapport. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it was a little difficult. We had a little bit of a language barrier. They spoke Spanish. Obviously, I do not. Not obviously, but I do not. And so there was a little bit of a language barrier. So we had to work really hard, and we spent a lot of time on the phone. I did go out there and meet them in person, and we looked at contracts, and I don't really know, if we built this like solid, trustworthy relationship necessarily. However, I was the person I would say that spent the most time with her trying to help them come up with the solution because they were in trouble. They were actually in arrears, which means that they hadn't paid their mortgage in a while. And they were able to do a program through the city that put all those arrears on the back of the mortgage, but it didn't solve the problem of I can't pay my mortgage still. Mm-hmm. So I think because I had spent the most time with her, that eventually when I did come back to her 2 months later, she was willing to listen and to learn, whereas she wasn't in the beginning. And I was the person that was offering her the only solution to get her out of the house and to keep her credit intact.
And I hear, like, all through that, all I hear is like credibility through, you know, persistence and consistency, you know, constantly checking in. Just presence really is what is the most effective form of rapport building, I think. And sometimes even if they don't even understand that you're there to help them, they can see that you're constantly there and you're being constant in their life, and that helps people be more secure in the decisions they're making with
because
you.
They definitely didn't trust me in the beginning. I mean, and so when I had mentioned this, she was just like, absolutely not. You know, but then because I had kind of traveled with her through several months, and I had even said, you know what, I don't think that creative financing is a solution, because if you don't understand it, then I don't want you to do it. I want you to 100% understand every part of this. So I think I'm gonna push that to the side and we're not gonna do that. And I think she appreciated that. So then when I did come back to her a couple months later, I was like, this is the only solution that you have. Then she was willing to sit down and listen to all the ins and outs that, you know, comes with a subject to transaction.
I think that's great feedback for like people that are getting started, and you know, their thought process going into this investing and creative finance is like, hey, I'm just gonna go look for this type of deal and then I'm gonna offer it and then they're gonna accept it, and you know, one thing after the next. But you hear months of follow-up, right? Months of education, right? And so you went from, you know, basically delivering a normal offer, which we call like a cash offer, basically, and then you were able to start educating on creative finance. And so once you got to that point, it was really just about structuring the deal and how it would actually work, and letting them know that, right?
Yes.
Cool. So like, how do you go about getting the person to move in that direction to make it understandable, I guess?
So, I mean, you just kind of have to break it down. I always say it, you know, the famous line, explain it to me like I was in second grade, you know, a 7-8-year-old. And I think that it was just, this is the only option, right? And starting with, you know, what are liens and what are mortgages and what it looks like to transfer it through title. Because subject to can be very complicated and people can get very worried, but you know, the people that need to do this are the people that have no other option. I mean, they literally had no other option. They were in trouble, and this was going to be their safest and best option to get them out, and you know, the solution that they needed for their family, especially because she's having a baby, you know, and they need to get into a place that's bigger and less money, which is hard, you know, in this economy, in this market. So it was, you know, at that point when she had picked up the phone after a couple months, I hadn't talked to her in 2 months, she just was like, April, whatever it is, I'll do it. I just am in so much trouble and I'm so sick of this house. I'm so sick of everything involved with it. You know, she even said, I don't think I'll ever buy another house again. You know, I mean, because it just, there was so much involved. And I think she was just happy to have someone travel with her through it and get her into her new place and safely transfer her house, you know, transfer the deed out and get the mortgage paid, and, you know, she knows
just
that
close it up.
Close it up, right?
Yeah.